All right. Um, okay. So in front of us we have two different goggles. Both of these are Fast Shark HDOs. One is running the True RC singularity antennas, and you'll notice those are pointed straight up essentially, and then this one is pointed at a 90-degree kind of straight out. This is a omnidirectional antenna setup. The null zone, or the zone that is basically your no signal zone, is in the center of this cylinder. So by pointing one straight up and one straight ahead of you, the null zones counterbalance each other, and there's never a position that the antenna can't pick up from omnidirectional. Now, that being said, another way to run these would be to have both of them at a 45-degree angle opposing, and so you could put them like this, and you actually may get a little better results in certain areas, being that these are going to be a little higher above your head, and this one's not going to be basically penetrating through your head, which means not really getting signal. So that's one way that you can, the two different ways that you can run these antennas. Basically, just bend it out, or bend it straight up and have them at opposing angles of about 45 degrees. So these antennas, again, will be omnidirectional, which means they pick up signal from pretty much 360 degrees around you equally. They do not have great penetration, so if you start getting behind some foliage or behind anything, you're probably going to start to lose signal or have it very hard to grade it. The other set of antennas here are the MX Air Rapid Fire Array. Now, these are two antennas that are basically a patch and a helical combined. Those two options basically give you a very wide beam, but also a very long range distance penetrating beam. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, not just a really wide kind of good penetration beam, but a really solid distance beam too. So these are going to be what you're going to want to use anytime you're flying almost completely in front of you. Not to say you can't fly behind you. We will show some video in a second that shows you that if you want to fly behind yourself with these, it does work and you will get decent reception, but they won't work quite as well as these. So these would be my all-around workhorse. These are always going to be on the goggles. If I ever feel like I'm in an area that I need to be able to fly 100% around myself with good video, then I would just switch over here. But these are going to be so good while penetrating in front of you at a pretty wide beam that they're going to be your go-to antenna. The great thing is they actually also fit pretty well in the case. If you just simply put them in there like this, they don't put too much pressure over here, which means that you could actually leave them connected pretty much at all times. Again, be careful doing this. Don't smash these things in there. Only if they fit well should you do this. You may even consider a larger carrying case for these at some point, but this is the way that I would transport mine. Always make sure when you're closing again that you're not pushing down on anything. Now you will see that these are somewhat curved, almost as if they could be mounted. They could be mounted kind of like this if you'd like. That's really more for people that lower their head down a little bit. In reality, you can kind of position these however you need to. The support here is plenty. There's no need to attach these to the front face plate. But if you wanted to, you could, and that's just totally up to you. On your rapid fire module itself, it's updated to the newest firmware, and to your DVR is also set to auto record. Look at your manual, learn how to use kind of your setup. You can change the displays here, kind of the brightness and the contrast. You can also do your menu over here for playing back the DVR and all that, which means you also, for your DVR, will need to put in a 16 gigabit, or that's usually what I use, but 16 to 32 gigabit SD card in order to be able to record. On the bottom of your goggles, you're going to find your IPD adjustments. So this is where you adjust the position of the actual optic within the goggle module. So while doing that, you'll see it kind of move, find a nice, good, clear spot, and that's going to be the spot you want. You're going to want to plug in the 2S balance lead into the fan port. The first time you push the button, it starts the fan. It runs for 5 minutes and then turns off. So you may need to continually hit it every flight if you're using your goggles for a while. Lastly, on the bottom here, you have your RX 1 and 0. They're just your on-off switch for your receiver unit, your module. If for some reason you're not getting any picture or anything from your receiver module, double check this switch. It gets flicked sometimes to the off position. Make sure it's on, and you'll always be able to fly. Have your goggle view. So lastly, it does beep at you when the battery's going dead. If you start hearing that beep, come home and land. Get it home as fast as possible. They will auto shut off when they reach a certain voltage. And lastly, but not least, do not use more than a 2S battery source. Some people may use 12, but I do not recommend anything but 2S 8.4 volts max to run your goggles. Running a 12, I've seen issues. I've had issues myself. So that's my recommendation. Thanks. I hope it all helps. All right, we're taking a look here at the MX array, which is the directional antenna that can penetrate through the trees. As we get some distance out here, you'll see on the right, the singularity starts to becoming almost unflyable, especially as we get around this corner. And with a bunch of different trees between us, as well as distance, it becomes very unflyable. The MX array, however, penetrates through all of it, and it'll get you longer distances, as well as through some of these obstacles of RF noise. In a second, we're going to come up on the flying behind us, and here you see the left one is actually getting dirtier. That's because it, again, is a directional antenna and only really gets good reception in front of it. Behind it, it becomes a little unstable.